I have a challenge for you. Before this video is over, I want to see how many of these automotive partnerships you already know. Some of them you may have heard about, others are going to be genuinely surprising. If I asked you who builds Toyota, you'd probably say Toyota. BMW? BMW. Ford? Ford. That seems pretty obvious, but what if I told you that some of those world's biggest automotive competitors are actually working together behind the scenes? Not just sharing a few parts here and there, but co-developing engines, transmissions, sports cars, electric vehicles, factories, and even entire vehicle platforms. Why would companies that spend billions of dollars competing against one another willingly share engineering, technology, and manufacturing? What's really going on behind the scenes? More importantly, how does it affect the vehicle sitting in your driveway? The truth is, the automotive industry has become far more interconnected than most people realize, and many of the brands we think of as fierce competitors are quietly helping each other build better vehicles. Throughout this video, I'll reveal some of the most surprising partnerships in the automotive world, explain why they exist, and show you how they've shaped many of the vehicles we drive today. Keep track of how many you already know, because I think at least a few of these are going to surprise you. By the end of this video, you'll start to see the automotive industry the way the engineers do. So let's start with the biggest question of all. Why would two companies spend billions of dollars trying to outperform one another and then turn around and work together? At first, it doesn't seem to make much sense at all. But once you understand what's involved in designing and building a modern automobile, the answer becomes much clearer. Developing a brand new vehicle today is one of the most expensive engineering products in the world. It can take thousands of engineers, years of research and development, billions of dollars in investments, and countless hours of testing before a single vehicle ever reaches a dealership. Then consider that every manufacturer is facing many of the same challenges at exactly the same time. They're all trying to build safer vehicles, improve fuel economy, reduce emissions, develop electric vehicles, create new battery technology, improve software, and add driver assistance systems, all while remaining competitive in the global market. That's an enormous investment, even for the world's largest automakers. So rather than every company solving every problem completely on its own, manufacturers have learned that in certain areas, collaboration simply makes good business sense. They can share development costs, combine engineering expertise, speed up innovation, and still build vehicles with completely different personalities. In other words, they may compete fiercely in the showroom, but behind the scenes, they often recognize that working together on certain technology benefits everyone. And once you realize that, some of the partnerships we're about to look at start making a whole lot more sense. Let's start with one of my favorite examples, because it surprises almost everyone the first time they hear it. Toyota and BMW. On the surface, those two companies couldn't seem much more different. Toyota has built its reputation on reliability, efficiency, and value, while BMW is known for luxury, high performance, and ultimate driving experience. So why would they ever work together? The answer is simple. Each company brought something valuable to the table. When Toyota decided to bring back the legendary Supra, it needed a modern inline six-cylinder engine and a sports car platform that could meet today's performance, emissions, and safety standards. Well, BMW already had decades of experience engineering, building world-class inline six-cylinder engines and rear-wheel drive sports cars. Rather than spending billions of dollars developing everything completely from scratch, the two companies partnered together. The result was the Toyota GR Supra and the BMW Z4. They share much of the same underlying engineering, including the chassis architecture, the powertrain, and many electronic systems. Yet despite sharing so much beneath the surface, the two companies worked independently to give each vehicle its own personality. They tuned the suspension differently, calibrated the steering differently, programmed the transmission differently, and created two cars that feel surprisingly different behind the wheel. That's what's fascinating about these partnerships. Sharing engineering doesn't mean building identical vehicles. It allows manufacturers to share the enormous cost of development while still creating products that reflect each company's own philosophy. And once you understand that, you begin to realize this isn't an isolated example. In fact, there are far more of these partnerships than most people realize. Now, let's look at a completely different type of partnership. Instead of sharing a sports car platform between two luxury performance brands, what happens when two manufacturers decide to develop an entirely new vehicle together at the very beginning? Toyota and Subaru provide one of the best examples. Most people know about the Toyota GR86 and the Subaru BRZ. At first glance, they look remarkably similar. Underneath the sheet metal, they really are. Two companies work together to develop the platform, the chassis, and overall engineering, while each brand fine-tuned the suspension, steering, styling, and driving characteristics to match its own philosophy. But the partnership didn't stop there. Toyota and Subaru also collaborated on all-electric Toyota BZ4X and the Subaru Solterra. Again, two vehicles that share a tremendous amount of engineering beneath the surface while maintaining distinct brand identities. So why would they do this? Because designing an entirely new vehicle platform is one of the most expensive investments an automaker can make. By working together, both companies were able to spread the development costs, reduce financial risk, and bring new vehicles to market much faster than either company likely would have done alone. It's a perfect example of how modern automakers compete in the showroom while collaborating behind the scenes. And once you begin looking for these partnerships, you start realizing they exist almost everywhere throughout the automotive industry. But the connections don't stop with the manufacturers themselves. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever wondered why two completely different car brands sometimes use the exact same transmission, fuel injector, alternator, or electronic sensor? Most people assume every automaker designs and builds every component that goes into its vehicles. The truth is, that's almost never the case. Behind nearly every major automotive manufacturer is an entire network of world-class suppliers that specialize in designing and manufacturing specific components. Companies like Denso, Aisin, Bosch, ZF, Continental, Magna, NGK, and many others quietly supply parts to dozens of different manufacturers around the world. For example, Denso, originally part of the Toyota Group, is one of the largest automotive suppliers on the planet. They're producing everything from air conditioning systems and fuel injectors to starters, alternators, sensors, and engine management components for numerous vehicle manufacturers. Aisin builds transmissions and drivetrain components that can be found in vehicles from many different brands. Bosch has become a global leader in fuel injection systems, braking technology, electronic sensors, and countless other automotive components used throughout the entire industry. These companies don't simply manufacture parts, they're engineering companies in their own right. In many cases, they're responsible for developing technologies that eventually appear in vehicles from multiple manufacturers. That's the world working behind almost every vehicle you've ever driven. Suppliers most drivers have never heard of, quietly engineering pieces of nearly every brand on the road. And believe it or not, some of the biggest surprises are still ahead of us. The more you begin looking behind the scenes, the clearer the pattern becomes. The automotive industry is built around specialists. Some companies have become experts at designing transmissions. Others specialize in fuel systems, braking technology, electronics, sensors, bearings, air conditioning systems, or advanced safety equipment. Manufacturers don't always reinvent those technologies from scratch. They often partner with companies that have already spent decades perfecting them. That's one of the reasons modern vehicles have become so sophisticated. Instead of every manufacturer trying to become the best at everything, they focus on what they do best and collaborate with companies that excel in other areas. Now that's a lot to take in, but we're honestly just getting started. So far, we've looked at companies working together. What we haven't talked about yet is who actually owns these brands. And that's a different story of its own. So by now, you probably realize that the automotive industry is far more connected than most people ever imagine. And that's exactly why we created the OrtoTech Garage, is to pull back the curtain, explain how these incredible machines really work, and help people become more informed vehicle owners. One of the best resources we've created is our free used car buying guide. It's called Don't Buy a Money Pit. If you're shopping for a used vehicle right now or even down the road, go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen or use the link in the description to download your free copy now. It could save you thousands of dollars and help you avoid buying someone else's problems. If you believe in our mission of advancing automotive education, I'd also invite you to check out our apparel at shop.ortotechgarage.com. Now, every t-shirt, sweatshirt, water bottle, and decal helps us continue creating videos like this and expand the educational resources we're building for the OrtoTech Garage crew. That's you. Please just take a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who loves cars. Now, let's open the door to another layer of the automotive world, corporate ownership. While partnerships allow independent manufacturers to work together on specific projects, ownership groups take that collaboration even further. Rather than simply sharing technology, these companies operate under the same corporate umbrella while still maintaining their own unique identities. Let's start with the Volkswagen Group because it's one of the most surprising examples. Most people know Volkswagen owns Audi, but many are surprised to learn the company also owns Porsche, Bentley, Lamborghini, Ducati motorcycles, Scania, MAN commercial trucks. That's an incredibly diverse collection of brands, all benefiting from shared engineering, purchasing power, and global supply chains. Then there's Hyundai Motor Group, which includes Hyundai, Genesis, and Kia. Although many people still think of them as separate companies, they share an enormous amount of engineering, vehicle platforms, powertrains, manufacturing, and technology behind the scenes. Another fascinating example is Geely. It's a company many people have never even heard of, yet it owns Volvo cars. Polestar, Lotus, and several other automotive brands while also holding a significant ownership stake in Mercedes-Benz. And then there's Stellantis, one of the largest automotive groups in the world, bringing together brands such as Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, Fiat, Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Peugeot, Citroën, Opel, and several others under one organization. At first glance, these companies may appear to have very little in common, but behind the scenes, they often share vehicle platforms, engines, transmissions, electrical architecture, manufacturing facilities, software development, and billions of dollars in research and development. The goal isn't to make every vehicle the same. It's to eliminate unnecessary duplication, reduce development costs, and allow each brand to focus on what makes it unique. That's why a Jeep still feels like a Jeep, a Porsche still feels like a Porsche, and a Lamborghini still feels like a Lamborghini, even though they're part of a much larger automotive family. What all this shows is that a brand name tells you who marketed a vehicle, not necessarily who engineered every part of it, supplied its components, or helped bring it to life. Once you begin looking behind the scenes, you realize the automotive industry isn't a collection of isolated companies competing on their own. It's one of the greatest engineering collaborations in the world. But that raises one final question. If all these companies are working together in so many different ways, what does it actually mean for you as a vehicle owner? Let's talk about that next. So what does all this actually mean for you as the vehicle owner? Well, first, it means you shouldn't assume that a part of technology is automatically better, or worse for that matter, simply because of the logo on the hood. Once you understand how interconnected the automotive industry has become, you begin to realize that many manufacturers are solving the same engineering problems together. I think the second takeaway is that sharing technology isn't something to fear. In many cases, it's exactly what the automakers are using to build better, safer, and more reliable vehicles while keeping the development costs under control. Think about it this way. If one manufacturer develops an exceptional transmission, an advanced safety system, or a highly reliable fuel injection system, why wouldn't another manufacturer want to build upon that success instead of spending years trying to reinvent it? And that's how engineering advances. Great ideas are improved, refined, and shared over time. It also explains why, as a technician, I'll occasionally find the same supplier's name on components from several completely different manufacturers. One of the things I've learned after working on thousands of vehicles over the past 35 years is that where a component came from rarely tells you anything about its quality. Competition drives innovation. Collaboration accelerates it. The best engineers don't ignore good ideas simply because another company came up with them. They study them, they improve them, they build upon them, and that's how the entire automotive industry continues moving forward. So once you start looking underneath the surface, you'll discover an industry built on collaboration, specialization, and decades of shared engineering experience. The next time someone tells you that engine came from another manufacturer, you'll understand that's often not a criticism at all. In many cases, it's exactly how some of today's best vehicles came to be. I hope this gives you a little more confidence the next time you hear that two manufacturers share an engine, a transmission, or another major component. It doesn't automatically mean one company copied another or that they cut corners. More often than not, it reflects a carefully planned engineering partnership designed to produce a better product for everyone involved. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons this entire video has to offer. All right, so how many of those partnerships did you already know? If you're like most people, you probably recognized a few, but I'm willing to bet at least one or two of them surprised you. And here's the interesting part. We've really only scratched the surface. There are dozens of other engineering partnerships, ownership groups, supplier relationships, and technology sharing agreements throughout the entire automotive industry. We could probably make several more videos on this topic alone. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which automotive partnership surprised you the most? Is there another hidden relationship, ownership group, or engineering collaboration that I didn't mention in this video? Let everyone know down in the comments. I read as many of these as I can, and your comments often inspire future videos just like this one. If you enjoy learning how the automotive industry really works, you're going to love some of the other videos here on this channel, where we're continuing to pull back the curtain on the engineering, the technology, and repair techniques behind today's vehicles. We have another great video lined up for you right here. Until next time, thanks for watching, thank you for supporting the OrtoTech Garage, and we'll see you in the next video.